If God is good, why is there so much suffering in the world? This question has troubled people across generations and cultures. It touches the very core of our understanding of life, faith, and justice. Today, we're going to explore this question from a perspective that is often overlooked but deeply insightful: the Rastafari view. In this video, we'll dive into why suffering exists, not just as a personal struggle, but as a reflection of social, historical, and spiritual dynamics. The Rastafari perspective does not shy away from the harsh realities of life. Instead, it examines suffering in the context of justice, oppression, and divine reason. Rastafari teachings remind us that suffering is not meaningless. It can illuminate the path towards spiritual growth, unity, and resilience. Through this lens, we'll look at how God, referred to as Jah, allows freedom, guides humanity, and inspires hope even in the most difficult times. We'll explore the deeper lessons that can be learned from adversity and how understanding suffering through this perspective can transform the way we see the world and our place in it. If you're interested in understanding life's challenges from a fresh spiritual angle, you're in the right place. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, share this video, and leave a comment sharing your thoughts. Your engagement helps us create more content like this and brings more people into this meaningful conversation. Suffering is a part of life that touches everyone, regardless of age, background, or belief. It can take many forms: personal, social, and natural. Personal suffering might include loss, illness, or inner struggles that challenge our sense of peace and purpose. Social suffering arises from inequality, injustice, and the challenges that communities face when systems fail to protect their people. Natural suffering, on the other hand, comes from the forces of the world: storms, disease, and the unpredictability of life itself. Together, these forms of suffering shape the human experience and remind us of our vulnerability and the fragility of life. What makes suffering universal is that no one is immune. Every society, every culture, and every individual experiences hardship in some form. Even those who seem privileged or powerful face their own trials. This universality is part of why the question of why a good God allows suffering has resonated across centuries and civilizations. It is not a question that only affects a few, but one that echoes in the hearts of all who seek meaning and justice. For the Rastafari, understanding suffering requires looking at history and context. The scars of slavery, colonialism, and systemic oppression are not just historical events. They are living realities that continue to shape communities and lives today. These forms of suffering are often the result of human greed, cruelty, and the structures of power that Rastafari refer to as Babylon. Recognizing this connection is essential. Suffering is not simply an abstract concept, but a lived experience deeply intertwined with human history and injustice. Rastafari teachings highlight that while suffering is universal, it is also instructive. It forces reflection, encourages resilience, and calls for collective responsibility. By examining suffering in its personal, social, and historical dimensions, we can begin to see how humanity has endured, resisted, and found ways to grow even under the weight of hardship. It is through this lens that we can start to understand not only the reality of suffering, but also the possibility of spiritual insight and communal strength in the face of adversity. Traditional religions have long wrestled with the question of why a good and loving God allows suffering, a concept often explored through the study of theodicy. In many Christian and Jewish teachings, suffering is explained in a few key ways. Some say it is a consequence of free will, allowing humans to make choices, both good and bad, which inevitably brings pain at times. Others suggest that suffering is part of a divine plan, a test of faith designed to shape character and strengthen the soul. Still others interpret hardship as a trial or lesson, meant to teach patience, humility, or dependence on God. These explanations offer comfort to some, but they do not always align with the realities of lived experience. People who endure oppression, poverty, violence, or natural disasters often find these answers abstract and insufficient. While theology can frame suffering as purposeful, the day-to-day struggles of real people, especially those marginalized or historically oppressed, often seem senseless, unfair, or overwhelming. This tension between theory and reality is a challenge that traditional religious frameworks sometimes struggle to address fully. For the Rastafari, this gap is significant. While acknowledging divine justice, Rasta teachings emphasize that much suffering is the direct result of human actions and social systems, rather than a mysterious divine plan. The focus shifts from asking why God allows suffering to understanding how human choices, oppression, and exploitation contribute to the pain in the world. This perspective encourages action, reflection, and resilience, highlighting personal and communal responsibility alongside spiritual guidance. If you're finding this discussion meaningful, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and share this video with others who want to explore these questions. Your engagement helps support deeper conversations about faith, justice, and understanding life's challenges. The Rastafarian perspective on suffering offers a deeply spiritual and socially conscious understanding of why pain exists in the world. Unlike some traditional religious explanations that frame suffering as a divine test or punishment, Rastafari teachings focus on the connection between suffering, oppression, and human responsibility. In this worldview, God, referred to as Jah, is a loving and guiding force who desires justice, unity, and the spiritual elevation of humanity. Suffering, therefore, is often seen not as a reflection of divine cruelty, but as the result of the Babylon system, the structures of oppression, corruption, and inequality that dominate the world. Rastafari emphasized that humanity has agency, and much of the suffering we experience is a consequence of human choices rather than the will of God. Historical injustices, including slavery, colonialism, and systemic racism, are central to understanding the Rasta perspective. These events created profound and lasting suffering, yet they also inspired resilience, resistance, and a deep yearning for liberation. In this context, suffering becomes both a reality to endure and a teacher to illuminate the path toward freedom, awareness, and spiritual growth. Moreover, Rastafari teachings highlight the importance of community and unity in confronting suffering. While personal struggles are inevitable, the collective support of the community, spiritual practice, and connection to Jah provide guidance and strength. Life is viewed as a journey toward enlightenment, where hardships serve as lessons that encourage reflection, patience, and action against injustice. In this sense, suffering is transformative. It shapes character, inspires empathy, and fosters a deeper understanding of life's spiritual and social dimensions. The Rasta approach also emphasizes that the divine is present within and around us. By recognizing Jah in oneself, in nature, and in the community, suffering is not faced in isolation. Instead, it becomes part of a larger story of spiritual evolution and collective liberation. Suffering is acknowledged, felt, and addressed, not ignored or explained away. The focus is on healing, understanding, and finding meaning in the midst of life's challenges. Through this perspective, we see that the question of why a good God allows suffering is not answered by resignation or passive acceptance. Instead, it is approached with awareness, action, and faith. Rastafari remind us that while suffering exists, it is often intertwined with the human capacity to resist injustice, cultivate wisdom, and live in harmony with Jah. Understanding suffering in this way empowers individuals and communities to seek justice, maintain hope, and work toward a life of balance, unity, and spiritual fulfillment. From a philosophical and spiritual standpoint, the Rastafari perspective on suffering emphasizes the interplay between human responsibility, divine guidance, and personal growth. While suffering is real and often intense, it is not seen as a punishment from God, but as a natural outcome of human choices and societal structures. Jah provides wisdom, support, and guidance, yet humans must navigate life's challenges with awareness, courage, and integrity. This approach encourages reflection, self-discipline, and spiritual growth, even in the face of hardship. Rastafari philosophy views suffering as a teacher. It can illuminate weaknesses, inspire resilience, and foster empathy. Personal challenges are opportunities for introspection, helping individuals recognize their values, priorities, and capacity for compassion. When communities face collective suffering, it calls for unity, cooperation, and social responsibility. Hardship, in this sense, becomes a catalyst for both personal and communal transformation. It teaches patience, perseverance, and the importance of standing against injustice, reinforcing the idea that spiritual evolution is inseparable from practical action. A key insight in the Rastafari worldview is the concept of freedom and agency. Humans are endowed with the power to make choices, and with that power comes responsibility. Suffering often arises when this freedom is misused or when individuals and societies act in ways that harm themselves or others. Jah does not micromanage every aspect of life. Instead, guidance is provided, and the consequences of actions unfold naturally. This understanding encourages people to act ethically, cultivate self-awareness, and support others, rather than passively attributing hardship to divine will alone. Rastafari also recognized the systemic nature of much suffering. Social injustice, economic exploitation, and oppression, what they call the Babylon system, are human-made realities that cause pain and limit spiritual and material growth. Understanding suffering through this lens shifts the focus from questioning why God allows pain to exploring how humans can transform systems, alleviate injustice, and foster equality. This approach inspires action grounded in spiritual principles, highlighting the connection between ethical living, social responsibility, and spiritual liberation. Ultimately, suffering is not seen as meaningless or arbitrary. Through awareness, reflection, and engagement, individuals can find purpose even in hardship. Rastafari teachings encourage people to view suffering as an opportunity to grow closer to Jah, deepen understanding, and strengthen community bonds. The philosophy integrates spiritual insight with practical wisdom, showing that challenges can be transformed into lessons of resilience, courage, and unity. By approaching life with this mindset, suffering becomes both a guide and a call to action. It is an invitation to awaken to the responsibilities we have to ourselves, each other, and the world, while remaining grounded in faith and spiritual purpose. To understand suffering through a Rastafari lens, it helps to look at real-life examples, both historical and personal, that reveal how hardship can inspire resilience, spiritual growth, and social awareness. The history of African people in the diaspora offers profound lessons. Generations endured the horrors of slavery, colonial oppression, and systemic racism, yet they survived, resisted, and maintained their dignity. This suffering was not meaningless. It became a source of collective strength and a foundation for cultural and spiritual identity. Figures such as Haile Selah, revered in Rastafari tradition, provide a model of leadership guided by faith, justice, and moral courage. His life and teachings emphasize that even in times of political turmoil, human suffering can be met with wisdom, patience, and a commitment to higher principles. Similarly, the music and messages of Bob Marley illustrate how personal and social suffering can be transformed into a force for awareness, unity, and empowerment. Through his lyrics and activism, he reminded people that confronting injustice and enduring pain with faith can lead to liberation, both spiritually and socially. Everyday life also provides countless examples of how suffering can foster growth. Communities that face poverty, displacement, or inequality often demonstrate extraordinary resilience, cooperation, and creativity. In these situations, Rastafari philosophy encourages reflection on the causes of suffering and motivates action to address systemic issues. It teaches that adversity can cultivate empathy, strengthen communal bonds, and deepen spiritual awareness. By examining these stories, we see that suffering is not simply a burden to bear. It is an opportunity to awaken, to rise above challenges, and to live in alignment with Jah's guidance. Hardship can highlight what matters most: justice, compassion, and unity, and can inspire individuals and communities to act with courage, integrity, and faith. If you are inspired by these insights and examples, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more content that explores life, spirituality, and social awareness. Hit the like button, share this video, and join the conversation in the comments. By engaging, you help spread these powerful lessons, and together we can explore deeper questions about life, justice, and faith in future videos. Exploring suffering from a Rastafari perspective reveals that hardship is rarely arbitrary or meaningless. Jah provides guidance and love, but much suffering arises from human choices, social injustice, and systemic oppression. Personal and collective challenges become opportunities for growth, reflection, and spiritual awakening. Rastafari teachings remind us that even in the face of adversity, hope, resilience, and unity can flourish, guiding us toward liberation and understanding. Through the lessons of history, the lives of inspirational figures like Haile Selassie and Bob Marley, and the resilience of communities facing oppression, we see that suffering can inspire courage, empathy, and positive action. It encourages us to confront injustice, support one another, and deepen our connection to Jah. This perspective transforms suffering from a source of despair into a path towards spiritual and social insight. We would love to hear your thoughts about this video. How do you perceive suffering? And what lessons have you drawn from your own experiences? What topics would you like us to explore in future videos? Sharing your opinions helps build a stronger, more connected community where we can learn from one another. If you found this video meaningful, don't forget to subscribe, share it with your friends, and leave a comment with your insights. By doing so, you help us continue creating content that inspires, educates, and brings people together to explore life's deepest questions.